I just wanted to say this is my very first time in Mexico with one of my films to promote it, and I want to thank everybody for coming, making me feel so welcome.
Yeah, I have not been here since the Mexico City Film Festival screening of Hostel, and the Mexican audiences were incredibly warm to me as a director, and I feel just as welcome as an actor, so thank you for having me here as well.
Ahora sí vamos a dar inicio a la conferencia de prensa. Si alguien tiene alguna pregunta, les suplicamos levante su mano y espere hasta que tenga un micrófono en su mano, por favor. ¿Dónde está el micrófono? Perfecto. Ajá, la primera pregunta.
Mario Giacometti, Canaceta de Costa Rica. Mr. Tarantino, congratulations for your movie, which I find very entertaining. There is something that worries me a little bit about your movie concerning young people, especially, or people who don't know much about World War II, and who may have a somehow distorted idea of what World War II is. Of course, your movie is a fantasy, it's not a historical movie. But I wonder why you decided to show, not to show cruelty on the Nazi side, but show much cruelty and even sadism on the American side.
Well, I do show cruelty on the Nazi side. Well, first thing in the movie is they execute an entire family by machine gunning them down.
They shoot the floor.
Yeah, no, that's just me being a good director. No, that scene is, believe me, I watched that scene in Israel, and it was horrifying, and it freaked everyone in the theater out, because in Israel, pretty much everybody is a eyewitness of the survivor, so it was a very rough scene. That was just, that was my personal cinematic way to have the sawdust standing for flesh. But as far as that was concerned, part of the thing is it was a revenge. It was a revenge thing. So I was like, I don't need to just list and continue to show Nazi atrocities. We all know them. We've all seen them in many movies. This was showing the Americans, and particularly American Jews, basically doing an Apache resistance against the Nazis, which did a couple of things. One, it equated the movie with a Western, which is one of the things I was trying to do. And two, it was bringing up the genocide of the Indians via the white settlers in America. So it was, it just keeps, things just keep overlapping on top of each other. But I'm not worried, though, about young people seeing the movie and thinking Hitler died that way. I mean, they can think he died that way for a little bit.
La siguiente pregunta.
Es Laura del programa Omnibus. ¿Nos podrías hablar un poco sobre el proceso en el desarrollo del guión y si consideras esta una película madura dentro de su trayectoria?
Well, it's a mature movie. That's pretty up to you to decide. Right? It's a mature movie. But the way the script got developed was, I came up with the idea about 10 years ago, and I came up with a lot of the characters that you see in the movie today. Aldo, Londa, Shoshana, the Bear Jew. I came up with those guys, and I started writing it, and it was just too big. What I was writing just wouldn't have been a movie. It might have been a mini-series, but it wouldn't have been a movie. And that was my problem, that I just couldn't, people at that time, we're talking about right after Jackie Brown, went for a period where I wasn't working. And part of the reason I wasn't working is because I was working on the script. And people thought I had writer's block. Well, I had the opposite of writer's block. I couldn't stop writing. I couldn't shut my brain off. And at a certain point I realized, okay, this isn't a movie. It might be a Russian novel, but it's not a movie. And so I put it aside and thought I'd do a little thing called Kill Bill, and that would tame my epic-itis. Cut to Kill Bill volumes 1 and 2. And so I did that, and then when it came time to go back to it again, I realized that I just had too much story. So I took one of the big stories out of the film to make it more of a movie, and then that's what we have today.
There will be parts too.
Well, I might. I could do a prequel to the movie. I could do a sequel. I haven't quite decided yet. I'm still thinking about it, but I'm actually very intrigued with taking the characters either where they go from here or how they got here. Both ideas are very intriguing. So I'm just going to get together with pen and paper and see what happens.
Thank you.
La siguiente pregunta.
Por acá, Juan José Olivares del periódico La Jornada. Quisiera saber si el señor Tarantino conoce un poquito la situación de la violencia que se está viviendo en México entre una guerra que hay de grupo de narcotraficantes. Parte esencial de su trabajo es la violencia explícita, me refiero al trabajo de Tarantino. La pregunta es si conoce un poquito de este tipo de violencia que estamos viviendo casi todos los días los mexicanos y si algún día el cine podrá superar la violencia explícita a la realidad.
Those are two different questions, actually. All right, to me, movies are movies. Movies are art form, and if violence is part of your color as an artist, then it's an aesthetic thing. All right, you either see it or you don't see it. You either choose to see it or you don't choose not to see it. Having said that, I am aware of the violence you guys experience through the drug dealers and the drug cartels and the Mexican mafias and the kidnappings that happen here. And, the thing about it is the point that you make, that is a good point, is in your country, violence just isn't an aesthetic thing. It's just not something in an action movie. It is something you have to deal with. And, it's similar like, say, you can make a gangster movie in America, but the mafia doesn't truly have power that it once had in America at all. So it really can be taken as an aesthetic thing. If you make a movie about the Yakuza in Japan, that is still a real, serious, the Yakuza is a serious thing that people actually have to deal with from time to time. And these guys are Yakuza guys and whatever, and so it's a real thing. And frankly, your situation sounds the scariest of all. All right, so there's nothing I can do about that when it comes to the scenarios I tell and the stories I tell. But I get it, and I'm both sympathetic and fascinated by that situation in Mexican society.
La siguiente pregunta, les recuerdo que como algunos lo han hecho, ponerse de pie cuando vayan a formular su pregunta, que no alcanzamos a ver los dientes de acá. Acá.
Bobby Stromberg, del Regional del Sur. Maybe I ask you in English my question. ¿Y se traduce en español o lo traduzco?
Se traduce en español.
In your film, The Glorious Bastards, your work with identity and the theme of identity is very interesting. And the subtle giveaways. And it's almost as if you're saying with globalization and personation that ultimately who you are and where you come from can always be traced.
Well, one of the things that came out of the movie, one of the reasons about it that I made the movie so bilingual, insofar as like the German-speaking Germans and the French-speaking French and the American-speaking English, is World War II was a special thing insofar as it was one of the last times that a whole bunch of white people fought another whole bunch of white people. America's tried to avoid that since then. And so basically, though, the thing about it is, if you could pull off the language, if you could pull off the lingo, you could be a spy, you could infiltrate other armies. You could have such a thing as a Nazi infiltrator in an American army. You could infiltrate the Nazis. The Nazis could infiltrate the Czech resistance. That's the kind of things that could happen. And it's kind of the things that are kind of glossed over in a lot of World War II movies, but I always thought it would be a very, very exciting thing. And so, it wasn't this master plan. Most of most of the things that actually have the most weight and make the biggest case in my movies aren't master plans. They just grow out of the scenario. They grow out of the character situation. They grow out of the writing. I actually think that's why they work so well. All right, as opposed to me trying to hit a point and trying to move characters like chess pieces to make my point. The characters kind of make the points themselves. And one of the points, the whole movie is about characters playing roles, characters in hiding, characters pretending to be people that they aren't. I mean, one of the things that's very interesting is the only character in the movie who cannot be who he is Aldo Ray. He can't even for 2 seconds, even for the second he needs to try to be Italian, he can't pull it off.
I'm even better than Aldo.
Yeah, you're even better than Aldo. Aldo is who he Aldo is who he is. And that really goes down to almost every aspect of his character. But, the whole role-playing thing, again, like it wasn't this master plan, but it's one of the things that I think gives the movie resonance and gives it suspense and is exciting about the film.